when he says, "What more do you want from me?" The answer that you want to give is, "I want you to see me. I want you to notice what I'm carrying." It's emotional overfunctioning. And it's not about doing more tasks. It's about carrying the emotional weight of everyone else's life while your own gets ignored. When she shuts down, that is actually the breakdown. You don't need a helper, you need a partner. Well, let me tell you what nobody sees. She's the glue, the memory, the calendar, the compass. She's the one who plans the college visits and remembers who needs a cavity filled. She's the one who's worrying at 2 a.m. about her kids' anxiety, whether they have real friends, whether they'll be okay, whether that comment they made last week was just teenage drama or was it something deeper. She's the one tracking everyone's emotional temperature. She's noticing when her daughter gets quiet. She's wondering what's going on when her son starts withdrawing, when her husband checks out. She's the one managing the big stuff that nobody even knows needs to be managed. Things like the financial stress of older kids, the logistics of aging parents, the weight of keeping everyone emotionally afloat while she's drowning. And somehow, in the middle of all of that, he thinks she's just in a mood. And so this is what we're going to be unpacking today. So let's jump in and get started. So there are so many things that we midlife women manage. There are so many things that we carry every single day. And somehow, in the middle of all of the things that we are carrying, your husband has likely said something like, "Why are you in such a bad mood?" And he also thinks he deserves a high five for picking up dinner. But you're the one carrying his entire life. And so there's so much that we're going to unpack here, so much that we women can understand about what he's actually doing and not doing, and how to explain what life is like for us in a way that he can actually understand it without getting defensive or turning it back around on us. And in reality, you are so tired, not just physically tired, soul tired. Tired of being the only one who sees what needs to be done. Tired of being the only one who carries the weight of what could go wrong. Tired of holding it all together and getting no credit for it. This is episode 4 in the series Marriage Conversations That Midlife Besties Are Having, but Afraid to Say Out Loud. Over the last 3 episodes, we've been unpacking the hard truths about midlife marriage. We've talked about wondering if you still love him, about why his old way of showing up doesn't work anymore, about feeling emotionally invisible, even to the person who's supposed to know you best. And so in this episode, we're going to go straight to the heart of what is actually breaking you. We're going to be talking about the invisible load. It's the weight you carry that no one else sees or seems to care about. And so today we're going to be pulling back the curtain on really what the invisible load looks like in midlife and why his help often makes you feel more alone, and the truth behind why you're so resentful and so tired of holding it all together. And by the end of our time here today, you're going to have words for what you've been carrying and permission to stop pretending that it's not crushing you. And so let's first start talking about what's visible, right? This is the stuff that everyone can see: the scheduling, the logistics, the errands, making sure everyone gets where they need to be, keeping track of appointments and school events and work schedules, and managing the household and meals and groceries and laundry and bills. That's the visible load. And honestly, most husbands can see that, at least some of it. And they know you're busy. They know you're juggling a lot. But here's what they don't see: the invisible load. The mental and emotional labor that runs 24/7 in the background of your brain. So let me paint you a picture of what this actually looks like. It's lying awake at 2 a.m. running through tomorrow's schedule and next week's and next month's. It's thinking about who needs to be where, when. It's thinking about what needs to happen before that can happen. What you forgot to do today that's going to cause a problem tomorrow. It's the constant emotional monitoring of everyone in your home. It's reading the room. It's sensing the shifts. It's noticing when someone's off, when your teenager's been too quiet, when your husband has been distant, when your adult child's texts have gotten shorter. It's holding space for everyone's emotions except your own. It's being the sounding board, the mediator, the emotional thermostat, the one who absorbs everyone else's stress so they don't have to feel it as heavily. It's managing teen outbursts and trying not to take them personally when your kid says things like, "I can't wait to leave and never come back," or "You don't understand anything," or "Just leave me alone." And you know they're just being a teenager. You know it's not really about you, but it still lands and it still hurts. And you still lie awake wondering, did I say the wrong thing? Did I push too hard? Did I not push hard enough? Are they okay? Really okay? What if they're not? What if I'm missing something? And it's the long-term worry about their future, not just logistics, but the actual real existential worry. Will they be okay in this world? Are they resilient enough? Did we do enough? What if we failed them? And it's carrying the weight of decisions that no one else ever has to think about. Should we help them pay for college or make them take out loans? Should we let them move back home or push them to figure it out on their own? Should we say something about that relationship, or do we just stay quiet about it? It's anticipating what's coming and trying to prepare for that before it becomes a full-on crisis. It's noticing when your aging parent is declining. It's researching therapists before your kid hits rock bottom. It's planning for financial changes before they become disasters. It's the constant mental load of being 3 steps ahead while everyone else lives in the present. And here's what makes it so exhausting. It's not just busyness. It's emotional overfunctioning. And it's not about doing more tasks. It's about carrying the emotional weight of everyone else's life while your own gets ignored. And it's eroding your sense of self, because when you're constantly tuned into everyone else, when you're constantly managing and anticipating and worrying, there's no space left for you. There's no space to feel your own feelings. There's no space to think your own thoughts. There's no space to exist outside of these roles. And that's what's breaking you. It's not the visible load and it's not the tasks. It's the invisible weight of being the primary one who sees and who cares and who carries it all. And here's the part that makes you want to scream. He thinks he's helping when he picks up dinner once in a while and he feels like a hero. When he walks in with takeout and genuinely expects you to be grateful, maybe even impressed that he thought of you. He does the yard work or takes the car in and thinks, we're good, right? It's those visible tasks. It's like those visible tasks somehow balance out the invisible weight that you've been carrying. He unloads the dishwasher without being asked and waits for a thank you. Actually pauses, looks at you, waiting for acknowledgement. And meanwhile, you're unraveling under the weight of decisions and emotions that he hasn't even noticed. Well, if you are in midlife and if you are married, listen up. You need this resource. I've got a new free guide, and it's called He Doesn't Get It Yet: How to Help Him See What You're Carrying Without Starting Another Fight. This free guide is going to help you identify what's really weighing on you, the invisible and the visible. It's going to help you understand why he hasn't noticed and why that's not entirely his fault. It's going to help you find language that helps him see what he's been missing. And it's going to help you start a conversation that might actually lead to real change. Because if your marriage feels like it's on life support, I want you to know that most husbands, they actually do want to show up for their wives. They just don't know how. They're still operating from the old playbook, and no one has even told them it's outdated. You can grab this free guide at Midlife Marriage's free guide, or check the show notes on this episode. Let me give you an example. So your teenager is struggling, really struggling. Maybe it's anxiety, maybe it's depression, maybe they're being bullied at school or falling apart after a breakup. You've been up for nights worrying about it, researching therapists, trying to figure out how to help without making it worse. You've had hard conversations, the kind where you're trying to hold space for their pain while your own heart is breaking. You've held them while they've cried. You've listened to the words that cut deep. Words like, I can't do this anymore, or no one understands me, or I hate my life. You've carried the weight of their struggle alone. You've made the appointments. You've done the research. You've worried about whether they're safe, whether they'll be okay, whether you're doing enough. And your husband, he mowed the lawn, and he walks in proud of himself and says, come here a minute, and proceeds to walk you outside so you can ooh and ah about the lawn. And you pretty much just have no words. And something inside of you just breaks. Not because mowing the lawn doesn't matter, but because it feels like you don't even live in the same world as this man. Who needs the lawn mowed? You need him in the emotional trenches with you. You need him to say, I've been thinking about our kid and I'm worried. What do you think we should do? What about, I know you've been struggling. What can I do? Or what are you most worried about right now? But instead, he's offering you yard work and expecting you to be grateful. And when you don't respond with gratitude, when you can't muster the energy to say thank you for something that doesn't touch what you're actually carrying, he gets defensive. I just mowed the lawn. What more do you want from me? I'm trying to help, but nothing's ever good enough for you. I can't read your mind. And that feels like a slap. And it's not because he mowed the lawn, but because he genuinely thinks that's equivalent to what you're carrying. He thinks task completion equals partnership. He thinks visible work equals emotional support. He thinks picking dinner up once in a while balances out the fact that you've been emotionally managing the entire household for months, maybe even years. And here's the painful truth. He's not trying to be mean. And he's not trying to minimize what you're going through. He genuinely doesn't see the difference, because here's what he doesn't understand. You don't need more help. You need more attunement. You need him to notice what you're carrying, not just to ask what you need him to do. You need him to see the invisible load, not just the visible tasks. You need him to genuinely care about what's weighing on you when he truly can't miss that you look like you've been run over by a freight train, instead of assuming everything's fine because the lawn looks good. You need him to care about what you're worried about, or not just complete items on a checklist. But he's not wired that way. He's not trained that way. He's been taught that partnership means completing tasks, that helping means checking things off a list, that being a good husband means doing the visible work and assuming that's enough. And to be fair, that probably used to be enough. 10 years ago, when the load was mostly physical, his contributions mattered. When I was about to do the dishes, when it was about who was doing the dishes and who was taking out the trash, in those days, task completion, it actually did feel like partnership. But now the load is emotional, it's mental, it's invisible, and he's still offering you lawn care. And so when he says, "What more do you want from me?" the answer that you want to give is, "I want you to see me. I want you to notice what I'm carrying. I want you to care about me, and I want you to care about the weight that I'm under, not just the tasks that need to get done. I want you to worry with me, to think with me, to carry this with me. I want you to notice when I'm drowning before I have to tell you." But you don't say that because you're too tired to explain it. Because every time you try, he gets defensive, because you've learned that asking for help with the invisible stuff, it gets you nowhere. And so you just absorb it and you add it to the pile of things you're carrying alone. And the resentment grows. The gap widens, and he has no idea why you're so angry. Because from where he's standing, he's doing everything right. He's being consistent. He's completing tasks. He's helping. But what he doesn't understand is you don't need a helper. You need a partner. And there's a world of difference between these two things. So let me paint you a picture of, I guess I'll call it a fantasy that many midlife women have. They fantasize about just falling apart and letting everything drop and walking away from the calendar, from the worry, from the constant managing, and just not doing it all for once, just to see what would happen. Would anyone notice? Would anyone step up? Would anyone even care? But here's why they don't do it, because they already know the answer. No one else would carry it. The worry would still be there, but no one would be managing it. The decisions would still need to be made, but no one would be making them. The emotional chaos would still be swirling, but no one would be containing it. And so she doesn't break down, because if she does, everything falls apart, and she can't let that happen. So instead, she shuts down. She goes quiet. She becomes withdrawn and detached. She stops trying to explain what she's carrying. She stops asking for help. She stops hoping he'll notice. And she just goes numb. And that's when things get really dangerous, because when she shuts down, she gets sharp and snippy and cold. And it's not because she wants to be mean, but because she's protecting the last little bit of herself that's left. And so she's building a wall, because she can't keep being disappointed. She can't keep hoping he'll see her and being ignored. She can't keep carrying everything and getting no break from it. And so she disconnects. And then he calls her cold. He says things like, "You've been so distant lately," or "You're not the woman I married," or "Why are you so angry with me all the time?" And she wants to scream, "I'm not angry, I'm exhausted. I'm not cold, I'm drowning. And you have no idea because you're not even looking." But she doesn't say that. Because what's the point? He won't hear it. He won't get it. He'll just get defensive and make it about how hard he's trying. And so she stays quiet. And the distance grows, and he has no idea that the breakdown has already happened. It just looks like her going quiet. The shutdown, when she shuts down, that is actually the breakdown. That numbness, that detachment, that's her system protecting her from completely falling apart, because she can't afford to fall apart, because no one else would hold it all together. And that's the cruelest part of all. She can't even break because no one else would carry the weight if she did. But here's what he doesn't understand. She's not bitter. She's not angry. She's not trying to be difficult. She's just tired, exhausted from having to earn her right to be seen. Let me explain what I mean. She's tried everything to get him to notice what she's carrying. She's tried hinting, dropping little comments like, "I'm really worried about our son," or "I'm so tired lately," or "I feel like I'm doing everything around here." But he doesn't pick up on the hints or choose to hear the actual words that she's directly saying. And so she tries helping him see. She explains calmly, rationally, what she's carrying. She walks him through the mental load, the emotional labor, the invisible weight, and he nods, says he understands, promises to help more, and then nothing changes. And so she tries direct asks. She says things like, can you call the therapist and schedule the appointment? Can you talk to our kid about what happened at school? Can you take this particular thing off my plate? And he does, sometimes, maybe. But it's always with resistance, with sighs, with saying things like, I'll do it later. And she ends up having to remind him, to manage him, to follow up, which means it's actually still on her plate. It's just now she's also managing his part of it too. And so she tries silence. She stops asking. She stops explaining. She stops trying. She just does it all herself, and he doesn't notice. He also doesn't ask why she's so quiet. He doesn't wonder what's changed. He doesn't get curious about what she might need. He just continues on like everything's fine. And that's when the resentment really becomes unbearable, because here's what she realizes. No matter what she does, hint, explain, ask, stay silent, nothing changes. And he misinterprets her exasperation as anger. He pulls away when she's loud and ignores her when she's quiet. He never gets curious. He never leans in. He never says, what's actually going on? Or what are you dealing with? Instead, he either waits for her to A, get over it, or B, explode. And then he acts shocked when she finally loses it and says, why didn't you just tell me? And she wants to scream, I did. I've been telling you for years. But by then, she's so exhausted from trying to be heard that she doesn't even have the energy to fight anymore. And so she just gives up. And that's the real danger. It's not the anger. It's not her resentment. It's her resignation. It's the moment when she stops believing that anything will ever change. When she stops hoping he'll finally see her. When she accepts that this is just how it's going to be. And here's what she needs him to understand. She doesn't want gold stars for surviving. She wants partnership that actually lightens the load. She doesn't want praise for the things she does. She wants him to notice what she's carrying before she has to spell it out. She wants him to be as worried as she is about her kid. She wants him to anticipate needs, not just respond to requests. She wants him to carry the emotional weight with her, not just help with the tasks when she asks. She wants to feel like she's not alone in this, because right now, she's never felt more alone. And so, let's talk about the truth that most women are afraid to say out loud. The thing that you've been thinking but haven't let yourself admit. If something doesn't change, I don't know how much longer I can keep doing this. And it's not because you want to leave. It's not because you don't love him. It's not because you're giving up. But because you can't keep holding it all together and expect to feel whole. Something has to give. And right now, the only thing that's been giving is you. You've been giving away your health, your peace, your sense of self. You're disappearing under the weight of it all, and no one seems to notice. And so here's what needs to happen. You need to stop holding it all together. Not by having a breakdown, although that might happen, but by being honest about what's unsustainable, by naming the invisible load, by saying, I can't keep doing this alone. Something has to change. And here's the hard part. You don't know if he'll hear it. You don't know if he'll finally get it, or if he'll get defensive and make excuses. You don't know if this will be the conversation that changes everything or the one that breaks you, but here's what you do know. You can't keep going on like this, and you owe it to yourself, and honestly to him too, to tell the truth. And it's not to punish him, and it's not to blame him, but to give him the chance to finally understand what's been happening. Because here's what I've seen over and over again. Most men genuinely don't know. They don't know how much you're carrying. They don't know how close you are to breaking. They don't know that what they're doing isn't working. And it's not because they don't care, but because they're not paying attention. And when they finally do understand all of this, most of them try. Not immediately and not perfectly, but they try. They start noticing. They start asking. They start showing up differently. And that's all you're asking for. You're not asking for perfection. You're not asking for a complete transformation. Just, I see you now. You've been caring too much, and I want to do this differently. That's it. That's the shift that needs to happen. And it starts with you finally saying the quiet part out loud. It starts with you saying, I need help, real help, not with tasks, but with the weight that I carry every single day. The weight that I know I can't keep carrying alone. Well, if you are in midlife and you are married and you find yourself asking the question, do I even want to be married anymore? Know that I've got an amazing resource for you. I've actually got two of them. I've created the midlife map for women and the midlife map for men. The midlife map for women is going to help you understand what's actually happening with you. We're talking about all of the physical, emotional, and all the changes that we women go through. And then there's the map for him. It's going to help you, it's going to give you the words to share with your husband about what is actually going on with you in a way that he can understand. It's going to help him know why mowing the lawn, it just isn't what you need anymore. What you need, it goes much deeper. Make sure you visit midlifemarriages.com to check out this amazing resource. Here's what I know for sure. You've done an incredible job of keeping it all together, but it's likely not sustainable until the end of time. You are not made to carry all of this alone. You were never supposed to be the only one managing and worrying and anticipating and holding it all together. That was never the deal, but somehow that's what it became. And so now it's time to redistribute the weight, not by burning it all down and not by giving up, but by finally being honest about what's unsustainable and asking for it to be different. And it starts with language, with being able to say, this is what I'm actually carrying. This is why I'm so exhausted. This is what needs to change. And that's exactly what the free guide, He Doesn't Get It Yet, is designed to help you do. It's going to help you name the invisible load you're carrying. It's going to help you understand why he hasn't noticed and why that's not entirely your fault or his. You're going to find language that helps him finally see what's been right in front of him and start a conversation that might actually lead to real partnership. You can grab it at midlifemarriagesfreeguide.com or check the show notes below. And if this episode resonated, know that it's just one of 10 that we are having inside this series called Marriage Conversations Midlife Besties Are Having But Afraid to Say Out Loud. In the next episode, we're going to talk about he's trying, but it's not what I need. We're going to unpack why his version of effort, it doesn't land, and how to bridge the gap between what he thinks he's doing and what you actually need. Until then, friend, give yourself permission to stop holding it all together. You were never meant to do this alone, and it's time to stop pretending that you can.